The stellar cartography vessel glided silently through the inky darkness of space, its advanced sensors painting a complex tapestry of electromagnetic signatures and spatial anomalies. Commander Zeralin studied the holographic display with a mixture of professional detachment and growing curiosity. The Sol system had been marked as a routine survey point, a classification that typically meant nothing more than a few hours of mundane data collection. But something was different here. The system's third planet, a blue-green orb spinning lazily against the backdrop of stars, defied conventional galactic classification. Initial scans revealed a civilization on the cusp of interstellar capabilities, yet there was an underlying complexity that made the seasoned commander's neural implants pulse with an unusual sense of anticipation. Dr. Vexna, the ship's lead xenoanalyst, leaned over the primary console, her multiple eyes narrowing as she processed the incoming data streams. "Commander," she said, her translation device converting her native clicks and whistles into standard galactic communication. "These readings are unusual." Zeralin raised a manipulation tentacle, signaling for more information. The holographic display began to shift, highlighting various planetary data points. Technological development markers danced across the screen, primitive by galactic standards, yet showing a rate of advancement that was anything but typical. "Observe the communication networks," Dr. Vexna continued, zooming into a complex web of satellite and ground-based systems. "They're remarkably inefficient by our standards, yet demonstrating an adaptive resilience that's quite remarkable. Look at how quickly they reconfigure their global communication infrastructure." The commander studied the display. Most developing civilizations had a predictable pattern of technological growth. They would typically develop centralized communication systems, vulnerable to disruption and easily mapped. But this human network seemed to operate more like a living organism, decentralized, adaptive, with multiple redundancy systems that seemed to heal and reconfigure themselves almost instantaneously. "Their military technology is equally perplexing," added Lieutenant Krull, the ship's tactical analyst. A holographic representation of various human defensive systems materialized: satellites, ground-based installations, communication networks that could rapidly transform into defensive platforms. "They haven't developed the standard unified defense grid we see in most emerging civilizations. Instead, they've created something organic." Zeralin's experience told her that true potential was rarely measured by immediate technological capabilities. The humans might not have faster-than-light travel or advanced energy weapons, but their systems suggested something far more intriguing: adaptability. Dr. Vexna pulled up historical data, conflict records, technological progression charts, societal development models. "Their technological leaps are triggered by conflict," she observed. "Where most species would be devastated by global challenges, these humans seem to accelerate their development. Economic disruptions, environmental challenges, global health crisis, each becomes a catalyst for innovation." The ship's computer began running predictive models, attempting to chart the humans' potential technological trajectory. The results were unlike anything in the galactic database. Most emerging civilizations followed a relatively linear path of development. The human projection looked more like an exponential curve with unexpected spikes of innovation. Lieutenant Krull's voice carried a note of professional concern. "Their current technological state suggests they'll achieve comprehensive interstellar capabilities within 2 to 3 of their planetary generations. But it's not their technology that concerns me. It's their approach to problem-solving." The holographic display shifted, showing various human innovations: agricultural techniques that transformed hostile environments, communication technologies that bridged vast social and geographical divides, medical advancements that seemed to emerge from collaborative global efforts. Commander Zeralin felt something she rarely experienced in her decades of stellar exploration: genuine intrigue. These humans were not just another developing species. They were something different, a civilization that didn't just adapt to challenges but seemed to thrive on them. "Continue deep scanning," she instructed. I want a comprehensive analysis of every aspect of their planetary systems. Something tells me we're looking at more than just another emerging civilization. As the stellar cartography vessel continued its silent observation, the blue-green planet continued its rotation, its inhabitants completely unaware of the extraterrestrial scrutiny, and the growing realization that they were far more extraordinary than they could possibly imagine. The Xenanthropological Research Station orbited a carefully selected point in deep space, far from potential human detection. Here, a team of the galaxy's most renowned specialists began their comprehensive study of humanity, their screens filled with centuries of human historical records, cultural artifacts, and behavioral analysis. Dr. Elena Korvacs, the lead xenanthropologist, stood before a massive holographic display that pulsed with interconnected data points. Her tentacled species was known for its analytical prowess, but even she found herself struggling to categorize the complexity of human development. "Look at this," she said to her primary research assistant, pointing at a timeline of human conflicts. Unlike other species that approached warfare with rigid, predictable strategies, humans seemed to reinvent their entire approach to conflict with each generation. The assistant, a crystalline being named Zix, manipulated the holographic display. Centuries of human military history unfolded, a narrative that defied every known galactic understanding of warfare. Where most species developed specialized combat units with generations of refined tactics, humans displayed a radical approach to conflict resolution. The Napoleonic Wars showed an unprecedented level of strategic innovation. A single human military leader had transformed warfare by developing rapid movement tactics that confused and overwhelmed larger, more traditional armies. The World Wars demonstrated something even more remarkable: the ability to convert entire civilian infrastructures into military production systems almost overnight. Their adaptation is not just technological, Dr. Korvacs noted, but deeply cultural. Observe how they transform societal challenges into collective strengths. Zix pulled up additional research files. The industrial revolutions, global conflicts, economic challenges, each became a catalyst for unprecedented human innovation. Where other species would fracture under similar pressures, humans seemed to become more unified, more innovative. The most perplexing aspect was their approach to technological development. Most galactic civilizations developed technology through carefully planned research initiatives. Humans, by contrast, appeared to innovate through a chaotic process of collaborative problem-solving, competition, and unexpected breakthroughs. Their space exploration told a particularly fascinating story. The initial lunar landing had been achieved with computing power less sophisticated than a modern galactic datapad. Yet they had accomplished this feat through an extraordinary combination of individual brilliance, collective effort, and an almost irrational belief in possibility. Dr. Korvacs zoomed in on human psychological profiles. Traditional galactic species had predictable stress responses. They would either become paralyzed or retreat when faced with overwhelming challenges. Humans displayed something entirely different, a psychological mechanism that transformed stress into motivation. "Look at their medical history," she instructed Zix. The display shifted to show human responses to global health challenges. Pandemics that would have decimated other civilizations became opportunities for collaborative scientific breakthrough. Within months of identifying a global threat, humans could develop complex medical solutions that would take other species decades. Their economic systems were equally complex. Where most galactic civilizations maintained rigid economic structures, humans developed incredibly flexible market systems that could rapidly redistribute resources and adapt to changing conditions. Economic challenges that would collapse other societies became opportunities for reinvention. The research team discovered something even more intriguing in their analysis of human communication technologies. Unlike centralized communication networks found in most galactic civilizations, human communication systems resembled living organisms. They were decentralized, adaptive, capable of routing around damage and maintaining functionality under conditions that would destroy other communication infrastructures. Zix compiled a preliminary report, the crystalline components of its body reflecting the complex data streams. Recommendation: it's stated in its precise computational language. Human civilization cannot be understood through traditional xenotropological models. They represent a unique evolutionary approach to collective problem-solving. Dr. Korvacs nodded, her multiple sensory organs processing the implications. Humanity was not just another developing species. They were something unprecedented. A civilization that didn't just survive challenges but seemed to thrive on them. As the research station continued its silent observation, the accumulated data painted a picture of a species that defied conventional understanding. Humanity was not defined by its current technological capabilities, but by its potential for transformation. "We are," Dr. Korvacs whispered to herself, looking at something entirely new. The research facility hummed with an unusual energy as the team began their deep dive into human technological development. Dr. Vexna spread her analysis across multiple holographic projections, each screen revealing another layer of human innovation that challenged every known galactic understanding of technological progression. "Observe the pattern," she told her colleague, Dr. Krant, her manipulation appendages dancing across the data streams. Humans do not develop technology in a linear fashion. They create through chaos, through unexpected collaboration, through what they call necessity. The holographic displays began to showcase a remarkable timeline of human technological innovation. Each breakthrough seemed to emerge from the most unexpected circumstances. Agricultural challenges led to global positioning system technologies. Military conflicts sparked innovations in communication and medical research. Economic pressures drove unprecedented computational developments. Dr. Krantz zoomed in on a particular period of human technological history. The development of computational technologies was nothing short of revolutionary. Where most galactic civilizations developed computational systems through centralized research initiatives, humans created their technological revolution through a combination of corporate competition, academic research, and individual innovation. The most striking example was their approach to communication technologies. Humans had transformed simple communication devices into global information networks in a matter of decades. Their internet, a decentralized communication system, was unlike anything in the galactic database. It was organic, adaptive, capable of routing around damage, and continuously reinventing itself. Agricultural technologies told an equally fascinating story. Faced with environmental challenges, humans didn't just develop new farming techniques, they reimagined entire food production systems. Vertical farming, genetic crop optimization, sustainable agriculture technologies emerged from a complex interplay of scientific research, economic pressure, and environmental necessity. Dr. Vexna pulled up a comparative analysis of technological development across different galactic civilizations. Most species develop technologies through carefully planned research initiatives. Humans, by contrast, seem to innovate through a chaotic process of problem-solving that defied traditional scientific methodologies. "Look at their medical technologies," she instructed Dr. Krant. The display shifted to show human medical innovations. When faced with global health challenges, they could develop complex medical solutions with a speed that shocked the research team. Entire vaccine development processes that would take other species decades were accomplished in months. Their energy technologies were equally impressive. Faced with environmental challenges, humans rapidly developed multiple sustainable energy solutions. Solar, wind, nuclear fusion research. Each technology emerged from a complex ecosystem of scientific research, economic incentives, and global collaboration. The most perplexing aspect was their approach to technological integration. Where most galactic civilizations maintained strict boundaries between technological domains, humans created complex, interconnected technological ecosystems. A breakthrough in computational technology could rapidly transform medical research. And agricultural innovation could spark developments in environmental management. Dr. Krantz's analytical systems worked overtime, attempting to create predictive models of human technological development. The results were unlike anything in the galactic database. Most civilizations followed predictable technological trajectories. The human projection looked more like an exponential curve with unexpected spikes of innovation. Their technological development is not just about creating new tools, Dr. Vexna observed. It's about continuous reimagination of possibility. Each technological challenge becomes an opportunity for complete systemic transformation. The research team discovered something even more intriguing. Human technological innovation was deeply connected to their social structures. Where most galactic civilizations maintained rigid research hierarchies, humans created collaborative ecosystems that allowed for rapid knowledge exchange. Open-source technologies, academic research collaborations, corporate innovation programs, each became a pathway for unprecedented technological development. A student in one part of the world could contribute to a global technological breakthrough. An individual researcher could spark an innovation that transformed entire technological domains. As the research continued, a complex picture emerged. Humanity was not just developing technologies. They were creating a dynamic, adaptive technological ecosystem that could rapidly respond to global challenges. Dr. Krant compiled the preliminary report, their crystalline computational systems struggling to categorize the complexity of human technological potential. Recommendation: the report concluded, human technological development cannot be understood through traditional analytical models. They represent a unique approach to technological innovation. Dr. Vexna nodded, her multiple sensory organs processing the profound implications. Humanity was not defined by its current technological capabilities, but by its extraordinary potential for transformation. We are, she whispered to herself, witnessing something unprecedented. The psychological research wing of the Xenanthropological Station fell into an unprecedented state of analytical excitement. Dr. Mira Solvin, the lead psychological researcher, stood before a massive holographic display that pulsed with intricate human behavioral patterns, her specialized neural interfaces struggling to process the complexity of human psychological mechanisms. They're not just a species, she whispered to her primary research assistant. They're a living, adaptive psychological system. The holographic displays began to unfold layers of human psychological research. Unlike most galactic civilizations with predictable psychological responses, humans demonstrated a remarkable capacity for psychological transformation that defied every known behavioral model. Most species developed fixed psychological responses to challenges. Humans, by contrast, seemed to view challenges as opportunities for personal and collective growth. Their psychological resilience wasn't just a trait. It was a dynamic, evolving mechanism of survival and adaptation. The research team examined human responses to extreme conditions, natural disasters, economic collapses, global health challenges. Scenarios that would completely destabilize other civilizations became catalysts for human psychological transformation. Where most species would fracture under pressure, humans seemed to become more unified, more innovative. Their concept of individual and collective identity was particularly fascinating. Most galactic civilizations maintained rigid social structures. Humans created fluid, adaptive social networks that could rapidly reconfigure in response to challenges. An individual could simultaneously belong to multiple social groups, professional networks, and cultural communities. Dr. Solvin zoomed in on human emotional intelligence research. Their ability to process complex emotional states was unprecedented. They didn't just experience emotions, they used them as sophisticated information processing systems. Empathy, creativity, and collective problem-solving emerged from their complex emotional landscapes. The most perplexing aspect was their approach to psychological challenges. Trauma, stress, and collective challenges that would paralyze other species became opportunities for personal and societal growth. They had developed entire psychological disciplines, focused on transforming negative experiences into sources of strength and innovation. Their educational systems revealed an even more complex psychological mechanism. Where most galactic civilizations created rigid learning structures, Humans developed adaptive learning environments that celebrated individual creativity and collective knowledge exchange. A student's personal challenges could become a source of unique problem-solving approach. The research team discovered something extraordinary in their analysis of human motivation systems. Most species were driven by immediate survival needs or collective directives. Humans demonstrated a complex motivation mechanism that combined individual aspiration with collective potential. Their concept of leadership was equally unique. Unlike hierarchical systems found in most galactic civilizations, humans created dynamic leadership models that could rapidly adapt to changing conditions. A leader wasn't just a controller, but a facilitator of collective potential. Collaborative problem-solving became a central theme in their psychological research. Humans had developed sophisticated communication technologies and social structures that allowed for unprecedented levels of collective intelligence. Individual creativity could rapidly transform into collective innovation. The most striking discovery was their approach to psychological diversity. Where most species sought uniformity, humans celebrated psychological differences. Neurodiversity, cultural variations, individual perspectives, all became sources of collective strength rather than division. Dr. Solvin's team examined human historical records of collective challenges, global conflicts, environmental challenges, technological disruptions. Each became an opportunity for psychological and social transformation. They didn't just survive challenges, they used them as catalysts for evolution. Their mental health approaches defied traditional galactic psychological models. Instead of suppressing psychological challenges, humans developed entire disciplines focused on understanding, processing, and transforming psychological experiences. Therapy, mental health research, personal development technologies emerged as complex adaptive systems. The research assistant, a crystalline computational being, compiled the preliminary psychological analysis. Recommendation: the report stated, human psychological systems cannot be understood through traditional analytical models. They represent a unique evolutionary approach to collective psychological adaptation. Dr. Solvin nodded, her multiple sensory organs processing the profound implications. Humanity was not defined by its current psychological capabilities, but by its extraordinary potential for psychological transformation. As the research station continued its silent observation, the accumulated data painted a picture of a species with a psychological complexity that defied conventional understanding. Humans were not just processing their environment. They were continuously reimagining their potential for growth, adaptation, and collective transformation. "We are," Dr. Solvin whispered to herself, "looking at a living, adaptive psychological system unlike anything in the known universe." The central strategy chamber of the Luminary Collective pulsed with an atmosphere of calculated confidence. Holographic displays showcased intricate invasion plans, each projection representing what military strategists believed would be a swift and decisive conquest of the human solar system. Grand Strategist Kovler stood at the center of the chamber, his multiple sensory organs absorbing the detailed invasion schematics. Decades of galactic conquest had refined the luminary military approach to a near-perfect science. Their technological superiority was unquestioned. Their strategic models had never failed. Preliminary invasion assessment, he announced to the gathered military council, indicates a 99.7% probability of complete planetary subjugation within 3 standard solar cycles. The invasion plan was a masterpiece of military engineering. Advanced quantum displacement technologies would allow for simultaneous strikes across multiple planetary defense points. Molecular disruptors would neutralize human communication networks. Adaptive shield technologies would render human weapon systems ineffective. Junior strategist Lyrax presented the detailed breakdown. Human military capabilities appeared laughably primitive. Their primary defensive technologies relied on chemical propulsion, electromagnetic weapons, and rudimentary energy systems. The Luminary fleet could neutralize their entire planetary defense grid in less than a standard hour. The strategic models told a compelling story. Humans had no unified planetary defense system. Their military technologies were fragmented, relying on individual nation-states with competing technologies. Their global communication networks, while impressive in their complexity, could be easily disrupted by targeted quantum interference. Preliminary intelligence suggested humans would respond with traditional military doctrines. They would attempt to concentrate their defensive forces, establish protective perimeters, and mount a conventional resistance. The Luminary had conquered hundreds of civilizations that followed similar strategies. What the strategists failed to understand was the fundamental nature of human adaptability. The invasion plan accounted for every known military variable. Advanced predictive algorithms had mapped potential human resistance scenarios. Each potential human response had been carefully modeled. Each potential defensive strategy anticipated and countered. Grand Strategist Kavlar reviewed the final invasion protocols. Planetary infrastructure would be systematically disabled. Communication networks would be neutralized. Military and governmental centers would be precision-targeted to create maximum disruption with minimal collateral damage. The Luminary approach to planetary conquest was almost clinical in its precision. They didn't seek total destruction. They sought complete systemic control. Previous conquests had demonstrated their ability to rapidly integrate conquered civilizations into their collective framework. Junior strategist Lyrax presented the final psychological warfare projections. Human society would be expected to fracture under the initial invasion pressure. Their decentralized governmental systems would become a weakness, preventing a unified planetary response. Multiple backup invasion scenarios had been developed. Each accounted for potential variations in human resistance. The most conservative models suggested complete planetary submission within 6 solar cycles. The most aggressive projections indicated total control could be achieved in less than 3. The Military Council reviewed the final invasion preparations. Advanced quantum displacement technologies were charged. Molecular disruption fields were calibrated. Adaptive shield systems were synchronized across the invasion fleet. Invasion readiness announced the primary computational system, set to 99.8% efficiency. Grand Strategist Kavlar allowed himself a moment of professional satisfaction. Hundreds of planetary conquests had refined the Luminary approach to near perfection. Technological superiority, strategic precision, and psychological warfare technologies had proven unbeatable across multiple galactic sectors. The invasion was more than a military operation. It was a carefully orchestrated systemic integration. The Luminary didn't just conquer. They transformed entire planetary systems into integrated collective networks. As the final invasion preparations were completed, not a single strategic model could have predicted the extraordinary transformation that was about to unfold. The Luminary saw a primitive planetary civilization ready for conquest. They failed to see a living, adaptive system capable of reimagining the very concept of resistance. The invasion countdown began. Precision, confidence, absolute certainty of victory. What could possibly go wrong? The first wave of Luminary invasion vessels descended through Earth's atmosphere with calculated precision. Quantum displacement technologies hummed with destructive potential, molecular disruptors ready to neutralize any resistance. Grand Strategist Kavlar watched from the primary command vessel, expecting the same swift submission they had witnessed in hundreds of previous planetary conquests. Nothing could have prepared them for what happened next. Initial targeting systems locked onto major global communication centers. The Luminary strategy relied on complete communication disruption, a tactic that had worked flawlessly in previous invasions. But Earth's communication network responded in a way no predictive model could have anticipated. As the first quantum disruption wave struck, something extraordinary occurred. Instead of collapsing, the human communication networks began to reconfigure. Satellite systems were routed. Cellular networks shifted. Backup systems that weren't even in the primary invasion models suddenly came online. Military bases that should have been primary targets demonstrated an impossible level of adaptability. Where the Luminary expected centralized command structures, they found a distributed network of response units, A military base under direct attack would not just defend. It would become a center of rapid innovation. Agricultural equipment became improvised defensive platforms. Construction vehicles transformed into makeshift combat vehicles. Every civilian communication network became a potential intelligence and coordination system. The invasion's first critical miscalculation became immediately apparent. The luminary had studied human military technologies through a traditional lens of warfare. They saw weapons, defense systems, military infrastructure. What they failed to understand was that for humans, the entire planetary ecosystem could become a weapon. In Detroit, an automotive manufacturing plant rapidly converted its production lines. Within hours, they were producing improvised defensive technologies that defied every known military classification. In Silicon Valley, technology companies transformed their research facilities into improvised command centers. Quantum displacement technologies designed to neutralize human defense systems encountered something unprecedented. Humans didn't just defend. They adapted in real time. A targeted communications center would lose primary systems, only to have backup networks emerge from unexpected locations. Military units demonstrated a level of psychological resilience that broke every known invasion model. When traditional command structures were disrupted, individual units didn't collapse. They became autonomous adaptive cells. A destroyed military base would see its personnel rapidly reorganizing, using civilian communication networks, personal technologies, and improvised coordination systems. The Luminary Invasion Fleet discovered that human military capability was not about advanced technologies. It was about a fundamental approach to collective problem-solving that transformed every challenge into an opportunity for innovation. Defensive technologies emerged from the most unexpected sources. A university research laboratory would develop a communication jamming technology. A group of independent programmers would create a planetary defense coordination system using open-source technologies. Grand strategist Kevlar watched in growing concern as invasion models began to fail. Predictive algorithms that had worked across hundreds of planetary conquests became useless. The human response defied every known military classification. Agricultural regions became unexpected defensive zones. Farmers transformed irrigation systems into water supply networks for emergency response. Communication technologies meant for crop management became intelligence-gathering platforms. Every civilian infrastructure became a potential defensive system. The most shocking revelation came from human psychological response. Where most species would fracture under invasion pressure, humans became more unified. Global competitors became collaborative defense partners. Individual challenges transformed into collective innovation opportunities. Invasion models that predicted systemic collapse instead witnessed systemic transformation. Each luminary attack became a catalyst for human innovation. Molecular disruptors designed to neutralize communication networks would be countered by technologies developed within hours of the initial attack. As the first engagement progressed, the Luminary Invasion Fleet began to realize a terrifying truth. They were not fighting a traditional military force. They were confronting a living, adaptive planetary system that could transform every challenge into an opportunity for collective resistance. Grand strategist Kevlar's command vessel received a transmission that would be recorded in galactic military history. It was not a traditional military communication. It was something far more complex, a coordinated message that demonstrated the human's extraordinary capacity for collective communication. The message was simple, yet it would become legendary across multiple galactic sectors. We are not defeated. We are adapting. The first engagement had begun, and nothing would ever be the same. The Luminary command vessel hung in orbit, its sophisticated systems struggling to process the unprecedented situation. Every invasion protocol, every predictive model, every strategic assumption was crumbling in real time. Commander Zixrel watched the holographic displays with growing horror. What had begun as a calculated planetary conquest was transforming into something entirely unexpected. Human resistance was not just a military response. It was a complete reimagining of planetary defense. Communication networks that should have been destroyed continued to function through impossible means. Satellites damaged by quantum disruption would be replaced by ground-based systems within hours. Communication towers destroyed in one region would be rapidly reconstructed using technologies developed on the fly. The most shocking developments came from unexpected sectors. Agricultural regions became complex defensive networks. A farming community in the American Midwest transformed irrigation control systems into sophisticated communication platforms. Crop management technologies became intelligence-gathering tools. Every civilian infrastructure became a potential weapon of resistance. Manufacturing centers demonstrated an unprecedented level of adaptive capability. An automotive plant in Japan would convert its production lines to create defensive technologies in a matter of hours. A technology company in California would develop communication jamming systems using components originally designed for consumer electronics. Military response was equally unpredictable. Traditional command structures dissolved, replaced by a fluid network of adaptive response units. When one defensive position was compromised, human units would not just retreat. They would reorganize, develop new strategies, and counterattack from unexpected angles. The luminary invasion models had predicted systemic collapse. Instead, they witnessed systemic transformation. Each invasion strategy became a catalyst for human innovation. Molecular disruptors designed to neutralize communication networks would be countered by technologies developed within hours of the initial attack. Psychological warfare technologies that had worked across hundreds of planetary conquests failed completely. Humans did not respond with fear or submission. Each challenge became an opportunity for collective innovation. Global competitors became collaborative defense partners. Individual challenges transformed into collective strength. Grand Strategist Kovler reviewed the deteriorating invasion reports with increasing desperation. Invasion zones that should have been quickly subdued were becoming increasingly complex battlegrounds. Military units that should have been easily neutralized were demonstrating an impossible level of adaptive capability. The most critical revelation came from their analysis of human defensive strategies. Humans were not just defending. They were continuously reimagining the entire concept of planetary defense. A destroyed military base would not just be replaced. It would be reimagined with technologies that made the previous defensive system look primitive. Technological innovation became a weapon more powerful than any quantum disruptor. Universities transformed into research centers developing defensive technologies. Independent programmer networks created planetary coordination systems using open-source technologies. Every human became a potential point of resistance. Communication networks demonstrated an organic adaptability that defied all known technological models. When primary systems were destroyed, backup networks would emerge from the most unexpected sources. Personal communication devices became intelligence-gathering platforms. Social media transformed into coordination systems. The Luminary Fleet discovered that human military capability was not about advanced technologies. It was about a fundamental approach to collective problem-solving that transformed every challenge into an opportunity for innovation. Psychological response broke every known invasion model. Where most species would fracture under invasion pressure, humans became more unified. Global divisions disappeared. Competing nations became collaborative defense partners. Individual challenges transformed into collective innovation opportunities. As the invasion progressed, the Luminary Command began to realize a terrifying truth. They were not fighting their traditional military force. They were confronting a living, adaptive planetary system that could transform every challenge into an opportunity for collective resistance. Grand Strategist Kovler received a transmission that would be recorded in galactic military history. It was not a traditional military communication. It was a coordinated message that demonstrated the human's extraordinary capacity for collective communication. The message was simple, yet it would become legendary across multiple galactic sectors. We are not defeated. We are adapting. The invasion was unraveling. And the Luminary Collective was beginning to understand that they had encountered something unprecedented in galactic history, a species that did not just resist conquest, but transformed the very concept of resistance. Nothing would ever be the same. The Luminary Collective's central research facility fell into an unprecedented state of analytical chaos. Centuries of galactic conquest had prepared them for many scenarios, but nothing could have anticipated the comprehensive defeat they had just experienced on Earth. Research teams worked around the clock, attempting to analyze the unprecedented planetary defense they had encountered. What had begun as a routine invasion had transformed into the most significant military and cultural study in galactic history. Dr. Vexna, the lead cynoanthropological researcher, compiled the initial comprehensive report. Her multiple sensory organs processed data streams that challenged every known understanding of planetary defense and collective adaptation. Humans are not a species, she noted in her preliminary findings. They are a dynamic, adaptive planetary system. The research revealed layers of complexity that defied traditional galactic classification. Human resistance was not about advanced technologies or superior weaponry. It was about a fundamental approach to collective problem-solving that transformed every challenge into an opportunity for innovation. The invasion had exposed something far more profound than a military defeat. It demonstrated a unique evolutionary approach to survival that was fundamentally different from any known galactic civilization. Their communication networks had been the first revelation. Where most species maintain centralized communication systems, humans had created a living, adaptive network that could reconfigure itself instantaneously. Damage to one part of the system would trigger immediate adaptive responses from other regions. Military response had been equally unprecedented. Traditional command structures dissolved, replaced by a fluid network of adaptive response units. When one defensive position was compromised, human units would not just retreat, they would reorganize, develop new strategies, and counterattack from unexpected angles. Technological innovation became their most powerful defensive mechanism. Universities transformed into research centers. Independent networks of programmers created planetary coordination systems. Every human became a potential point of resistance and innovation. The psychological response had been the most shocking aspect of the entire invasion. Where most species would fracture under invasion pressure, humans became more unified. Global competitors became collaborative defense partners. Individual challenges transformed into collective strength. Manufacturing centers demonstrated an impossible level of adaptive capability. An automotive plant would convert its production lines to create defensive technologies in a matter of hours. Technology companies would develop communication and defensive systems using consumer electronics components. Agricultural regions became complex defensive networks. Farming communities transformed irrigation control systems into sophisticated communication platforms. Crop management technologies became intelligence-gathering tools. Every civilian infrastructure became a potential weapon of resistance. The Luminary Collective's invasion models had predicted systemic collapse. Instead, they witnessed systemic transformation. Each invasion strategy became a catalyst for human innovation. Molecular disruptors designed to neutralize communication networks were countered by technologies developed within hours of the initial attack. Grand Strategist Kovler's final report to the Collective's Central Command was a document that would be studied for generations. It was not a report of defeat, but a profound recognition of a species that defied every known galactic understanding of civilization. Humans, the report concluded, are not a species to be conquered. They are a living, adaptive system that transforms challenges into opportunities for collective growth. The Galactic database received a new classification that would change interstellar interactions forever. Humans were no longer categorized as a developing civilization. They were recognized as a unique evolutionary approach to collective adaptation. Diplomatic protocols were completely rewritten. Previous invasion strategies became obsolete. The Luminary Collective would need to develop an entirely new approach to interstellar interactions. Dr. Vexna's final recommendation was both a warning and a recognition. Do not approach. Do not underestimate. Humans are not a target for conquest. They are a living, adaptive planetary system that can transform any challenge into an opportunity for collective innovation. The invasion had failed, But something far more significant had occurred. Humanity had not just defended its planet. They had demonstrated a unique approach to survival that would reshape galactic understanding of civilization itself. In the vast darkness of space, Earth continued its rotation, unaware that it had just transformed the very concept of planetary defense. Nothing would ever be the same.